Let the battle begin. MPs agree to hold a general election on June the 8th.
The ayes to the right, 522. The noes to the left, 13.
They overwhelmingly supported calls for voters to go to the polls, and within hours, the party leaders hit the campaign trail.
Give me the mandate to fight for Britain and give me the mandate to deliver for Britain.
This election is about the future of all of us. The future of our children, the future of social justice, the future of our services, the future of our jobs.
I'm live in Westminster with the latest political reaction. Plus, George Osborne tells us why he's decided to step down as an MP. Also tonight, America's new warning of an overwhelming response to North Korea. And Prince Harry on how his mother would feel about his mental health campaign.
This is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale in Westminster.
Good evening from Westminster, where an overwhelming majority of MPs have backed June's general election. So now the contest begins in earnest. Theresa May and Jeremy Corbyn wasted little time heading straight onto the campaign trail to key target seats. Earlier, they went head-to-head in the House of Commons, setting out the main battle lines for the weeks ahead. The Prime Minister said it was about who could lead the country to a successful Brexit deal. The Labour leader accused the government of continually breaking promises. Our political editor Robert Peston reports on the start of campaigning.
And so it begins. Her first election campaign stopped Bolton North East, a Labour seat that she thinks she can win.
Only we can give that plan for a stronger Britain, for a more secure future. But only you can give us the mandate.
While he stayed among friends, also going to Labour territory, Croydon North.
Shake your hand, I love you.
Oh, thank you.
Are we going to be a country that gives riches and makes riches for all of us? Or are we going to be a country that works only to make the richest even richer? I know which side I'm on, you know which side you're on.
This morning, off to persuade MPs to vote for that early election.
Can you unite the country?
Well, cross-party unity was definitely not front of her mind.
The right honourable gentleman opposite would bankrupt our economy, weaken our defences and is simply not fit to lead.
Jeremy Corbyn! Mr. Speaker, we welcome the general election, but this is a Prime Minister who promised there wouldn't be one. A Prime Minister who cannot be trusted. She says it's about leadership, yet is refusing to defend her record in television debates.
Curiously, she seemed to think the last few months of Prime Minister's questions was a substitute for those head-to-head TV debates. And
I will be taking out to the country in this campaign a proud record of a Conservative government.
would she really? Well, not till MPs gave her permission.
We now come to the motion on the early parliamentary general election.
That motion confronts every member of this House with a clear and simple opportunity. A chance to vote for a general election that will secure the strong and stable leadership the country needs to see us through Brexit and beyond.
Well, she got the vote that she wanted and needed.
Division! Clear the lobby!
The ayes to the right, 522. The noes to the left, 13.
Now, these 56 Scottish National Party MPs were in a minority who refused to vote to dissolve Parliament. Their boss, the First Minister of Scotland, said she'd do anything to oust Theresa May from office, even form an alliance with Labour, but
I'm not sure there are many people who think Labour are going to be in a position on their own or with anybody else to form a government. Only the SNP will stand between Scotland and an increasingly hardline and right-wing Tory government.
As for the Lib Dems, their leader thinks maybe it's their turn to be back in the sun again.
We are very, very excited about this election. It is an opportunity for the British people to choose to change the direction of our country, to reject a hard Brexit, to vote to stay in the single market. And do you know what? However you voted last June, to vote to have a decent, strong opposition in this country that we desperately need for the good of democracy.
So there's just over 1,200 hours of this kind of stuff to go before we have to decide whether to back or sack Theresa May. Robert Peston, ITV News.
Well, our political reporter Daniel Hewitt is with the Prime Minister and the Labour-held marginal of Bolton North East. So, Dan, what's the significance then of Mrs May making this her first campaign stop?
Well, it's no coincidence that she came to a Labour marginal where Labour hold this seat by just over 4,300 votes. She could have chosen to go to plenty of other Labour marginals with much smaller majorities. Chester down the road, Labour have a majority of 93, but she came here to lay a gauntlet. To put this into context, David Cameron, George Osborne, the big Tory political heavyweights, they came nowhere near the seat of Bolton North East at the last general election. They did not see it as a realistic target, and back then the majority was even smaller. Theresa May is clearly looking at those opinion polls, and suddenly she thinks seats like Bolton North West are in play. Now, the Conservative Party have yet to release their list of target seats, but I'm told tonight that the presence of her coming to Bolton North East suggests it will be a very ambitious one.
OK, Daniel Hewitt in Bolton, thank you. Well, the Prime Minister's desire to break with the recent past was given an early boost today. George Osborne, the man she sacked as Chancellor, has announced he will not be standing in June's general election. He said he wants to concentrate on his other jobs. Ben Chapman reports from his constituency in Tatton in Cheshire.
Just a year ago, he was the second most powerful politician in the land. But a year is an age in politics at the moment. First, he was sacked after Brexit, and today George Osborne confirmed his own departure as an MP.
I love this country and its openness and its diversity and its optimism, and those are the values that I've espoused as a member of the House of Commons and as Chancellor. But now I'm going to promote those values as the editor of a great British newspaper.
Lots of exciting things for me.
He'd faced criticism for taking the job as editor of the London Evening Standard, but insisted just a month ago he could be an MP as well.
There are plenty of examples of MPs who have edited newspapers and magazines over the years.
His local Conservative Party say they were behind him, but believe the general election has changed things.
Maybe he feels he doesn't have chance to prove himself doing both jobs and fight a general election as well. There's a lot of work involved, and maybe that's why he's come to this decision.
It's left voters in the Tory safe seat of Tatton looking for a new MP.
He's always seemed to be quite good for Knutsford. I'm not sure if he can hold down all the same jobs together.
I think it's excellent news. He had too many jobs, essentially. He wasn't able to devote enough time to the people of Tatton.
He's been a great servant for this town. Sad to see him go.
Aside from his many high-vis jackets, he will be remembered, for good or bad, as the austerity Chancellor. He says he wants his future to be more than that, but dropped a hint about what that might hold.
I might be leaving the House of Commons for now.
So we may not quite have seen the last of George Osborne. Ben Chapman, ITV News, Cheshire.
Well, our political editor Robert Peston joins me now. So barely a day since Theresa May's shock announcement. What do you make of today's developments?
Well, I'm struck by the fact that it's less than 2 years since David Cameron and George Osborne won the last election in such dramatic circumstances. None of us expected them to win that outright majority, and they won it on the basis of an 84-page manifesto that was promising all sorts of goodies like the right for people who are in housing associations to buy their homes, £1 million tax-free allowance on inheritance tax for married couples. More than half of what they promised has not been delivered. And yet MPs voted today to scrap all that and go to the country again. And frankly, it was all a bit of an anticlimax. There was very little protest, there was very little drama. A big moment, but somehow MPs didn't seem to grasp the significance of what they're doing. And of course, symbolically, George Osborne, probably the primary architect of that victory, going to become a journalist.
So no more of the Cameron lot left at all. And 24 hours in, a row developing over TV debates.
That's exactly right. ITV has said we will have a leaders' debate, and we're pretty clear that the leader of the Lib Dems, Tim Farron, will take part, Jeremy Corbyn, leader of Labour, will take part, Nicola Sturgeon, leader of the SNP. But at the moment, it looks as though there's going to be an empty chair because people in Downing Street are telling me in no uncertain terms that Theresa May does not like leaders' debates. She thinks they suck the air out of election campaigns, and she almost said as much, frankly, in the House today. So right now, I think we're going to get the leading challengers to Theresa May, but the person that the bookies think is going to win, well, she may not be there.
Fascinating stuff, Robert. Thank you very much indeed. Well, two former cabinet ministers have confirmed that they will stand at this next election. The former Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg says he will fight to keep his Sheffield Hallam seat in order to oppose what he called the Conservative Party's damaging approach to Brexit. While the longest serving MP, Ken Clarke, will also stand again in his Rushcliffe constituency. His office says Mr Clarke was first elected in 1970. Meanwhile, the Labour Party has seen a string of MPs confirming that they will not be contesting their seats. In the past half hour, the pro-Brexit Gisela Stewart has added her name to the list. It puts more pressure on the leader, Jeremy Corbyn. And Tony Blair's former constituency agent has told ITV News he fears the party will suffer in its northern heartlands. From Middlesbrough, here's our political correspondent, Emily Morgan.
It's not unusual at elections for some MPs not to stand again. Labour's Alan Johnson, Pat Glass and Ian Wright all have their own reasons. What is unusual is for an MP to leave because of their leader. Tom Blenkinsop cites significant and irreconcilable differences with the current leadership. There was no sign of him at his Middlesbrough South office today, leaving others to defend his decision.
If Jeremy were in a position to form a government, and we all know, frankly, that is highly, highly unlikely given the polls, but that I would not vote to make him Prime Minister because I simply don't think that he's fit to do that.
But it's the views of the voters that matter here in Mr Blenkinsop's constituency, and there are signs Labour are in trouble.
I'm nearly 70-year-old now.
Well,
Labour.
at the moment,
what?
That's all we've got because
Obsessed me. Does.
She's just announced that we're going to have a general election.
Why does it upset you so much?
Jeremy Corbyn.
He seems incompetent, really. He's not of this world. I mean, he's well-meaning, no doubt about it.
The North East is hugely important to Labour. Of the 29 seats here, it holds 26, and some are precarious. In Hartlepool, Ian Wright's seat, the majority is just 3,000. And in Middlesbrough South, where Tom Blenkinsop is MP, the majority is just over 2,000. John Burton helped Tony Blair to 3 election victories. He says a conversation with one of Mr Corbyn's supporters sums up Labour's problems.
If we can't get power, we can't do anything to help the people we're trying to help. And she said to me, she said, principles are more important than power. At which case I nearly wept, because that's just permanent opposition, I'm afraid.
Current Labour ministers insist there's nothing to worry about.
We're now a united party out there campaigning. We didn't want this general election to be called in this way, but now it's here. We'll support it because we believe there needs to be an alternative government, and we are that alternative government.
Labour MPs have until 5 o'clock tomorrow evening to decide whether to stand or not. With 3 already declared out in the North East, all eyes will be on whether this Labour heartland could turn into heartache. Emily Morgan, ITV News in Middlesbrough South.
Still to come in the ITV Evening News, the view from Snowdonia, where the PM decided to call the general election. And Prince Harry tells us why he's opened up about the death of his mother. Those stories and more after the break. Join me then. Hello again, welcome back. The United States fired another warning shot at North Korea today, saying it would deliver an overwhelming response to any use of nuclear or conventional weapons. It came from Vice President Mike Pence as he toured one of the world's largest aircraft carriers stationed nearby in Japan. Paul Davis reports on the rising tensions.
It seemed the setting had been carefully chosen for the message he was about to deliver. On the deck of a huge nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the Vice President issued a warning clearly aimed at North Korea.
And those who would challenge our resolve or our readiness should know. We will defeat any attack and meet any use of conventional or nuclear weapons with an overwhelming and effective American response.
3,000 American sailors on board the USS Ronald Reagan, currently moored off Tokyo, bore witness as Mike Pence spelled out the price those who threatened America would pay. The Vice President had travelled to Japan direct from the Korean Peninsula, where he'd visited the demilitarized zone and looked across the wire that separates North and South. As he now stood on the deck of one mighty American aircraft carrier, it was revealed that a second battle group, led by the carrier Carl Vinson, is now heading towards Korea. This the armada Donald Trump said he was sending 11 days ago.
Under President Trump, the shield stands guard and the sword stands ready.
As America winds up the rhetoric, significantly perhaps China is calling for a return to negotiations. Paul Davis, ITV News.
A man whose partner and friend were killed in a fire has told an inquest he saw flames coming out of a tumble dryer. The inquest will examine whether a faulty hot point dryer caused the fire in October 2014. Doug McTavish and Bernard Hender died following the blaze at a flat in North Wales. And a fire at one of the country's busiest train stations is causing widespread disruption for commuters this evening. Trains have been cancelled to and from London Euston after a fire on nearby tracks caused a power cut. Now, Prince Harry has told ITV News his late mother would be proud of his work to promote mental health. Today, he was campaigning for his charity Heads Together ahead of the London Marathon. And he told our royal editor, Chris Shipp, his style of duty and service is very different to that of his grandmother, the Queen.
It was this royal who in recent days told us how he came close to a complete breakdown in the years after his mother's death. But it was the mental health of others Prince Harry supported today, those running for his charity Heads Together in this weekend's London Marathon, as he handed them the headbands they will wear on the course on Sunday. After which, the Prince told us why he is so personally committed to this campaign. You've spoken a lot about your mother in recent days, and do you think, given everything you've achieved in the last few weeks, do you think she would have been really proud of what you and your brother and Kate are doing?
I hope so. I think she would be proud of the campaign, proud of everybody involved, proud of us, but specifically proud of the UK for having this conversation. I think from her perspective, she would be overwhelmed and hugely encouraged by the fact that the UK, not known for wanting to talk about mental health issues, has suddenly got to this point.
I was surprised about how much you opened up. You're a royal, we're not meant to know what you think, and yet it's not how Granny would have done it, it's not how the Queen would have done it, and yet you've really opened up and let us sort of see into your inner thought.
That's what you may think, Chris, but there's you know what, it was the right time to have that conversation and the right way to have it. And if our experiences and sharing those experiences can help reduce the stigma for the rest of the UK, then that's where the duty and service bit comes in.
The Prince thinks the campaign on mental health has reached a tipping point. And despite their pre-marathon nerves, those running for Heads Together told us how they have noticed attitudes have started to change.
My father took his own life in 2010. I'd say the whole Heads Together campaign itself has got my whole family talking.
People who know I'm running for Heads Together have come up to me and said, let's go for coffee, let's talk about this.
The royals have started a conversation, but it's the thousands of new conversations on mental health which will determine the success of this campaign. Chris Shipp, ITV News.
Sam Warburton will captain the British and Irish Lions on their tour of New Zealand this summer. Coach Warren Gatland has chosen Warburton and 11 other players from Wales, 16 from England, 11 from Ireland and 2 from Scotland. And finally, as Theresa May revealed to ITV News yesterday, she was with her husband in Snowdonia when she had the vision to call for a snap general election. So what do other walkers enjoying the clear air and time to ponder think of her decision? Damon Green hiked up the mountain in North Wales to find out.
It is about as far from the Westminster bubble as it's possible to be. Timeless, untouched by the march of progress, the last place you'd expect politics to intrude. And yet we're told that in Snowdonia, Theresa May, on a walking holiday with her husband, decided to call a general election. Is it as far-fetched as it seems? Certainly the walkers I met today like to come here to think deep thoughts.
There's no one in your face really, there's no horns, no loud music. You just one with nature, and you just have time to think.
Such a secluded place, you can go days without a mobile phone signal. The Bowen family from Wolverhampton didn't even know there was an election on. So is this the kind of place to make a big political decision?
I think it would be interesting if every political leader had to come out here to make an important decision. It might get quite busy up here.
But it is tempting once you're here to believe suddenly everything has become clear.
In fact, if you're the kind of person who likes things the way they are and doesn't want to have a general election every 2 years, perhaps it would be an idea to stop politicians from coming here at all.
John and Dawn Sullivan, here on only their second break from the kids in 21 years. And what are they arguing about on the mountainside? Yep, politics.
Education's in a mess, the health service is in a mess. I thought she was going to give us a bit of stability. And now doing this, it's like, does she really want the job?
Unless, like us, she's come out to take stock of her life, to see what's going on, and are we heading in the right place at the right time?
But if everyone who votes on June the 8th has to come here to answer that question, be warned, the car park in Llanberis will probably get busy. Damon Green, ITV News, in North Wales.
And that is all for now. Alistair Stewart is here at 10:30, straight after the nightly show. But from me and all the evening news team, have a great evening. Bye-bye.